So I'm on vacation here in the Cotswolds in England and having a great time, but I'm not going to be posting quite as much as I normally do, and my posts are not going to be quite as prepared as they normally are. But I did want to give a shout out to my brothers and sisters who are participating in protests against ISIS, the de facto Gestapo of the Orange Dawn. And a shout out to those who are going to be participating in the No Kings protests coming soon that I will obviously not be able to participate in. My heart definitely goes with you. I wanted to share some lessons that I did learn from participating in the Black Lives Matter protests, and what we learned about those when we were. And I think the big lesson that we learned from the Black Lives Matter protest is, if it bleeds, it leads, and that is an important lesson for everybody. It's an important lesson, especially for the people who are watching these protests on television and they're not participating; they're just watching, and they may be trying to figure out what to think about these movements, and they're making their decisions based on what they see on television. And unfortunately, with regard to the Black Lives Matter movement, what we saw on television was the rehash of the same videos of burning buildings and burning cars and that kind of thing. And it made it seem like BLM was this violent protest. It was a lie. It was a dissembling. It was misinformation at best, right? Because when we look back and we actually study the history of that moment, what we find is that over 93% of the protests were peaceful. And of that 7% that weren't peaceful, about half of them were actually started and instigated by the police. But we did, on the news, we saw the same footage of the same violence and the same vandalism that was taking place over and over and over again. And it created the impression that this was a violent movement. Why? Well, a headline that reads, "No incidents at the nonviolent protests yesterday," doesn't sell advertising space. What sells advertising space is pictures of burning cars and pictures of people throwing bottles and pictures of people getting tear gassed. That's the stuff that sells advertising space. If it bleeds, it leads. And that's what's going to shape our impressions of what's happening rather than an understanding of what's actually happening. So to those of you who are watching this on the news, my suggestion would be is to go on Instagram, TikTok, and some of these other media and take a look. There's plenty of people who are participating in these protests, who are showing the nonviolent aspects of these protests, and they're giving you a better indication that there's another side of the "if it bleeds and leads" story. Another thing that we have to consider is, for those of you who are participating in these protests, good for you. Keep doing it, but keep in mind, if it bleeds, it leads. Make sure that when you're participating in these protests, you've got people who are involved in policing our own, right? We have to make sure that when we see that guy who wants to throw the bottle, no. That's not the message that we want to send. You got that guy who wants to spray paint a business's windows. No. Set fire to anything. No. This is not what we're here for. This is not what we're trying to communicate. So make sure that is something. You're not going to feed the beast of the corporate media, telling them, giving them an opportunity to get that clickbait title, "Violence breaks out at protest." Don't give them that opportunity. Don't give them that fuel. And we know that that's not just going to be fuel for mainstream media and selling advertising space. We know that that's also going to be used by MAGA to present a distorted image and to present their dishonest narrative about the nature of these protests. So just some lessons to keep in mind as we move forward in fighting for civil rights and fighting for human justice and fighting for the marginalized, which is something we definitely need to keep doing.